Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll show you how to create these custom image presentations using the SwiftUI framework. So I've got an animation that fills the image in a layered fashion from the left, center or right. We'll create this with a combination of custom shapes and modifiers. So yeah, let's get started. We'll open Xcode and create a new project. We'll call it image_UI, make sure that the interface is set to SwiftUI, tap next and we'll hit the create button. I'll quickly set up the file folder structure and then we'll proceed with the tutorial. If you're interested in understanding the file folder structure in detail, you can check out the video link in the description below. Having a consistent setup helps me organize my files, reuse the base architecture, and scale the project with ease. We'll write a code for this main view at the end. For now, let's add some annotations and replace the default V stack with a Z stack. Alright, let's start by creating a custom shape. We'll name it rounded corner. Let's confirm to the shape protocol and implement the required path function. Next, let's add two variables, corner type and radius. You'll see why we need them shortly. Next, we need to add these parameters and pass values to make the preview work. We'll set the corner type to top left and radius to 64. Now we can continue with the path creation. Let's remove the default path initializer and instead we'll use the UI Bezier path initializer with a rounded rect variant. This will allow us to round the corners based on the value of the corner type and the radius provided. Now we need to modify our return type as we're using Bezier path. Instead of returning path, we'll use a path initializer and return path.cgpath. Let's add some padding so that it's more prominently visible. Alright, so as you can see, the top left corner is rounded. The rounded value is set by the radius. We can actually pass an array as well. Let's add top right and yeah, as you can see, both of them are now rounded. That's it for this custom shape. Now we'll create a mask image view that will help us perform this image presentation animation. Next, let's add a new SwiftUI view under support views and name it mask image view. To make it easy for us to provide the image that needs the animation, we'll create this as a generic view. We'll pass an image that conforms to view. Next, we'll add some variables required for the animation. First off, we have alignment. This value will determine whether the animation starts from left, middle or right. Next, we have animate variable. This will help us activate the animations. The next ones are pretty straightforward. Let me add them and then I'll quickly brief you guys about it. Animation duration determines the overall duration. Delay determines the delay before the animation starts. Width and height are pretty straightforward. Corner radius is used to round the corners, and lastly, the image variable contains the supplied image. Okay, so since we have a generic view, we'll need to write a custom initializer. We'll add all the variables as a parameter, change alignment to binding alignment, bool to binding bool, and pass default values for animation duration, delay, and height. Let's set the corner radius to 8. And we also need to change the data type for image. Instead of view, we need to change it to a closure that returns our generic image parameter. Now we need to pass our image as a function. Since alignment and animate are binding variables, we'll have to assign their value by prefixing an underscore before the variable names like this. And the remaining assignments are straightforward. Let me copy and paste some images to my assets file. You can use any images that you like for this tutorial. Next, let's set up our preview. We'll pass leading alignment, true for animate, screen view -48 for width, 240 as height, and an image view with the resizable modifier. Alright, onwards to the implementation part. First, we'll add the image using the variable and set the height using the frame modifier. Okay, let's add some padding so that we can see the rounded corners. Yeah, that's better. Next, to create the layered animation, we'll use the mask modifier. For the alignment value, we'll pass our alignment variable. The mask modifier helps us hide parts of a view by covering it with a shape or a view, like cutting out part of a picture with a scissor. It will allow us to create our desired animation. Let's see what happens if we add a circle inside it. Voila! Now the image takes a circular shape. Now to achieve our animation, we'll need to cut up our image into 4 parts. And yeah, we can just go ahead and remove this circle. This is where our rounded corner shape will come in handy because we need rounded corners at the top and the bottom. So here's what we are going to do. We are going to create a V stack, set the spacing to 0.5, and then we'll add a rounded corner shape with the corners set to top left and top right, and we'll also use the corner radius variable. Next we'll set the width and height using the frame modifier. For the width, when the value of animate is true, we want the value to be the width variable, otherwise 0. And we'll set the height to the 25% of the total height. And then we don't really need the alignment, so you can either remove it or set it to any value. Something seems off. The preview padding is 12. Okay, we have to set the width to -24, not -48. There are better ways to handle the width where you don't need to provide it. I'll keep it simple for this tutorial. Let me know if you'd like to see me optimize it. Next, we'll use the animation modifier to apply the animation. We'll use the ease in animation and pass the animation duration, and we'll also set the delay to 0.3 plus the value of the delay variable. From iOS 15 onwards, we are supposed to specify the value for which the animation should take place, and here we'll pass the animate variable. Next, let's copy the frame and the animation modifier, and we'll add a rectangle and paste the same modifiers again. And we'll do it one more time. Let's slightly modify the delay so that they start to animate one after the other. We'll set the first one to 0.2 and the bottom one to 0.1. To finish this mask image view, let's copy the whole rounded corner and paste it at the end. We'll change the corner type to bottom left and bottom right, and remove the 0.3 delay so that this layer is the first one that starts animating. Now that we have the 4 views that we needed, we can now set the spacing to 0. The animation that I'm going for in this tutorial starts to animate from the bottom, and then the other shape starts to animate due to the delay. You can play around with the animation type and delays to customize the animation to your needs. Now let's go back to the main view and finish the implementation. We want a full masked image along with 2 buttons. Let's define an enum called animation state, and we'll conform it to the case iterable protocol. We'll add cases for left, middle, and right. And we'll also add a function that returns the alignment for each of these cases, leading for left, center for middle, and trailing for right. Now let's define some variables. Current alignment for the animation alignment, animate image to trigger the animation, animate symbol to animate the generation symbol, which we'll see shortly, current selected index to cycle through the animation states, height is the view's height, and lastly we need one for animation duration. Let's start by adding the ignore safe area modifier to the Z stack. Next we'll add the mask image view and pass in all the variables. In the closure we'll again use the image view and use the resizable modifier. Don't worry if the screen is still empty, we need to use the onAppear function and set the animate image variable to true. Next, let's add the UI to change the layering animation to start from the various directions that we have specified. We'll use the overlay modifier and set the alignment to top trailing. We'll add an edge stack inside it. Let's set the spacing to 16, and we'll also add a padding of 44. Next, let's add a button. For the action, we'll check if the current selected index plus 1 is greater than the available cases count of animation states. If yes, then we'll reset the index to 0, otherwise we'll increment it by 1. And we'll use a with animation block with a smooth animation to set the new alignment. Oh, I seriously love these predictive code completions. Though let's remove the map and use the get alignment function. For the label part, let's use the SF symbol depending on the current alignment state. If it's leading, then we'll use text.align left. If it's trailing, then we'll use text.align right. Otherwise, we'll use text.justify. Let's use the foreground modifier to set the color to orange, and we'll also set the font with the font modifier. It's time to check if the button is cycling through the animation states as expected. Yeah, our logic is working fine. Next, we'll also add a wiggle effect on the tap of the button using the symbol effect modifier. We'll pass .wiggle and set the value to current selected index. And yeah, now when we tap the button, it will wiggle a bit. Okay, one more thing to go. Now we need to add a button to reanimate the image. First, let's copy the foreground and the font modifier. We'll again use one SS symbol for the image, and we'll paste the modifiers. This time in the action, we'll first set animate image to false, and then we'll use a timer block inside which we'll pass the time interval as animation duration multiplied by 1.25, set repeats to false, And why we need this? Because if we tap on the button, the image just hides and doesn't animate back. So inside the block, we'll set animate image.toggle, and yeah, now it's working fine. One last thing to go, guys. Let's add another symbol effect modifier to rotate this button whenever tapped. So we'll use the rotate modifier, set it to counterclockwise, increase the speed by 25%, and set the value to animate image. If you notice, the generate symbol button is rotating twice, and that's because of the fact that we are setting the value of the animate image twice, first to false and then true. And that is why we have the animate symbol variable. Let's go back to this button's action and we'll use the toggle function to change the value once. Yup, now it's working as expected. So yeah guys, we are done. Let's run the app once and see how it looks. Alright, there you have it guys, a nice and easy way to animate images that appear in your app. You can play around with the masking animations to customize the experience. I hope you learned something new. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more. Bye.